Ewout, very pleased to have you here in the studio today about a topic which I am passionate about. When I read your book, I thought, what do I basically know about the topic? I thought I knew a lot, but when I read your book, I learned even more. And therefore, I'm super happy that you are here today in the studio. And I'm curious to hear more about your story.
Thank you for the invitation and being here.
The book you wrote, it's all about the cold. It's not so normal. You write about the cold with a lot of warmth. I found very fascinated, like your whole journey, but not only warming, but also with cautiousness or with delicateness, something like you need to take care of. I'm very interested to hear more. Why did you exactly how your journey with the cold started?
Yes, how the journey started. It was definitely in Russia and Ukraine. I traveled there already for more than 30 years. And I also start organizing trips, ice swimming in Russia. And I speak quite well Russian. And when the war started in 2022 in Ukraine, it was for me a very big shock because I feel so very connected with both countries. At that moment, I decided to quit my job like a cold training coach, which I was for a couple of years. And also I wanted to quit, of course, organizing the trips to Russia. It was not possible anymore. And I immediately also decided to make a point by sharing the knowledge, the wisdom from these very inspiring countries, Ukraine and Russia, about cold training and also the ancient tradition of cold training there. So I started to write my book, Healing Cold, it's the name.
You said I stopped the winter swimming, but how did you get into that? The story of winter swimming. It's not something that you just start waking up and think, okay, let's go in there. There must have been a story before. Why you started doing that?
Yeah, I started actually in 2003. No, I have to go more back. When I was a child, my health was not so very good. I was a weak child, and my mother, she was a physiotherapist, and she started saying, I have to take cold showers. So I do this my whole life already. And when I was in 2003 in Siberia for a yoga retreat, I joined there, a yoga retreat in the summer. And it was such a big event for me personally, a life-changing moment. And they invited me in winter in Siberia, coming back for the real stuff, they said. And so I went back in the winter of 2003 in Novosibirsk. It's the heart of Siberia. And one of the first days when I was there, in the night, they woke me up for a ritual, and I didn't know what happened. And I was already, there was so much impressions for me. I was a little bit tired and angry for why they wake me up in the night. And it was full moon, very cold outside, minus 30. And my teacher said I have to wait in the kitchen, and he came back with 4 buckets, and we filled it with Siberian tap water, and that's really ice water. It's not like in Holland, like 12 degrees. No, it's I think 1 or 2 degrees. And then we sat down with these buckets with icy water, and my teacher started to recitate an ancient prayer, Siberian prayer. And he has a very heavy voice. The floor trembled, and my Russian was at that time not that good as now, but I felt immediately the strength of it. And the essence of this prayer was purify me and strengthen me. And with this prayer, we start the ritual, and we went into a cracky elevator, going down at the street where it was minus 30, and we poured the buckets over us. And there started my journey with cold training. I can say it was like a seed was planted inside of me, and within 20 years it became a tree, a beautiful tree, and that's my book. So it feels for me now.
Yeah, that's the warmth, I think, which I read in your book, because there is a lot of appreciation of the culture, of the gestures, of, like you said, it started with a poem or a phrase. I heard you saying it also in Russian language, which sounds even, even nicer. Is that then also that you every day you start with this poem or these phrases when you do your own routine on a day-to-day basis nowadays?
Yes, I use this sprayer every time when I plunge into the cold, and that's not every day, but it's like 3 or 4 times. And the essence of this sprayer in Russian it's "Очисти меня" and "Укрепи меня," and this means purify me and strengthen me. This is very symbolic for the contrast in healthy cold training. It all has to deal with contrast, like in the sauna. So you start with warmth and you end up with the cold. Purify me is connected with the warmth, with opening the body, opening the body and the vessels, and to purify all the stuff you don't need. And strengthen me has to deal with the cold, with closing the body, closing the skins, closing the vessels, and keeping inside of you what is vital. So that's your energy and your warmth. And this contrast is so very essential in healthy cold training.
So before you do the cold, you first need to be warm.
Yes, and it's basic body logic. If I ask you, what do you want when you're very cold? When you feel coldy, what do you want?
I'm gonna move.
Yeah, exactly. You start, some people are already warm, of course, but there are a lot of people, they're cold from themselves and they have to start with the warmth. So by using or a sauna or by using movements, and you end up with the cold. So this is the contrast. And this is described by a legendary Soviet doctor, Dr. Zalmanov. In Russia, they call this contrast procedures. And this Zalmanov, he called this capillary gymnastics, like vessel gymnastics. And that's really what our body needs, is not only the muscle training, but we also need vessel training. And that really is helping, assisting your heart. This is also the way I train. I always do my physical trainings, or I go to the sauna before I plunge into the cold.
Even if the cold exposure, that fascinates me quite a bit, even if the cold exposure is only very short, you first do warming up your body. So how does it exactly look like?
It depends a little bit of your type of body, because some people are always warm. And so for them, it's more easy. Myself, I'm a bit coldy person, so I definitely need always my warming up. But for everybody, I can advise it to start with the warming up, just to activate your body. You activate the blood vessels, activating the heart, activating your completely system, and then the cold. So it's not only about breathing, because everybody is telling about breathing now, but it's in the first place, it's about warming up. So I better call my workshops like heat and cold, or fire and ice, instead of breathing and cold. Like now in Holland, most of the workshops are cold.
I am a Wim Hof instructor. That's why I do know a lot about cold. And indeed, that is very much focusing before you're going into the ice on breathing and less on movement. So what kind of movements exactly do you do? Is it you run around the house, or are there specific movements to warm up your body which are very effective?
In fact, it doesn't matter what you do, or you are going to cycle or run, or maybe to cut wood. Everything is okay when you get warm of it. But of course, there are special exercises who are very efficient and good working, like jumping jacks, for example. Because by jumping jacks, you need also your clapping hands, and cold hands is for a lot of people a problem. So you need to warm up the hands and feet also, of course.
Yeah, and how long does the warming up needs to be? Until you're warm, or is there a minimally required minutes? Or
now for me, it's minimum. It's 20 minutes,
okay,
but it depends, of course, a bit of how trained you are, and if you're a coldy person or a hot person. I say always minimum 20 minutes. My favorite is, in fact, is running for half an hour.
okay.
But of course, you need to be trained to do this. When you're very good to warm up, then you feel your hands. When you're a coldy person, then your hands are also very warm.
If you say first running to be warm and then going into cold, isn't then the shock could be too big?
It's a good question. If you don't do it in the right way, in the proper way, then it will be a shock. But you always need what they call in Russian постепенность, and it means gradually. So there must be a kind of transfer between the warming up and the cold. And it can be in just 1 minute. It can be very short and simple. But if you stop moving or you come out of the sauna, then you will, or you're already are naked or not, but you've put out your clothes if you're sporting. The air is already cooling down your body. And then at the riverside, you start up with cold water everywhere, like this, like a cream of your body. And then the outside of your body is already cooled down. But the core stay warm always, also inside the water. When you stay for a short period, always the core stay warm. So the outside must be cold. And if that is the case, and your breathing is how do you say, quiet,
Under control.
then you can, without any danger, you can go into the water.
Okay.
So this is the graduality. You need to do the обтирание in Russian.
To rub your body with
cold water.
With cold water.
Yeah, when you do this right, there's never a shock moment.
Okay.
Because you go, of course, you have to go easily into the water. Jumping into the water is always a shock to ice cold water. So that's not recommended. It's dangerous.
Because jumping, I understand, but in Russia, you were already talking about the temperatures from -30. I see them going into this, they cut out a piece of the ice and then they go in a couple of times and then they come out. That looks for me also very quick going in and out, but that is okay then in that way.
Maybe it looks like that, but if the trainer is there, it's not allowed to jump into the ice hole. And so they step into the ice hole on a staircase, and they do it proper, like the wrapping the skin. The people who you can see diving into the ice holes, they were already into it minute before. So there was already a graduality on the body. And
would you then also, once you get into the water and you get out to the water, would you recommend to go back in? Is that okay?
No, never.
Never.
You can judge the moment in the ice water like a very strong therapy. It's like you went to the therapist, like a doctor or a massage, and you step outside, and you go immediately go back because you want again a massage. No, the doctor will say, you already had it, and now your body has to accept it and to take some rest. So it's so very strong. I do not recommend it. In Russia, they also say there's a difference between cold water and ice water. So cold water is more warm than 5 degrees or 10 degrees or 15 degrees. And they say it has an effect on the hilt. But ice water colder than 4 degrees, it has a healing aspect. So it's much more stronger than just cold water. And in Russia, they also compare it with a muddy puddle of rainwater. It's not clear, but after one night of frost, the water is clear again. So that's the symbolic of the effect of icy water to our body. It's clearing up the body. Or, of course, if you use the right dose. So this is very important.
That is written really almost on every page in your book, which is what I liked also a lot. That it's not about pushing through and mental strengthening, but really listening to what is your body telling you. And if you have a body composition which is like, you call it the penguin, or you're a little bit bigger, then your body is able to stay in the ice water longer or shorter. But you even mention, I think, seconds to stay in, which is also how you say it, going against minimally so long and just mental the mindset work, what you do there, while you focus very much on what is healthy and learn to listen on what is your body telling you. How often do you use really the icy water?
When I started with ice swimming, it was 15 years ago in Holland for 3 times a week. I was doing winter swimming, and the other days I was using the cold shower or the ice bucket. So almost every day. But now I feel with my age now, I'm older than 60. It's not necessary for me to do it every day. I think it's too much for me. 3 times, 4 times a week. It has nothing to do with bravery or mindset. It has everything to do with your individual lifestyle, and that's so very different for every person. So yeah, that's really a hot topic in my book.
Yeah, it is very clearly came that across. And what is healthy then? How do you know that you do it good?
That's a very good question. First of all, you have to accept your type of body, and you can look to: are you slim, average, or are you a strong, bigger person? And the average and bigger persons, they can adapt more cold, and the slim person,
Yeah, slim.
that's like me, they only adapt just a little bit. So that's my type of penguin. I have to accept that. And how do you feel it is okay? A lot of people, they think they can feel into the cold, so inside the water. But this is absolutely a mistake. So you never can feel everything into the water. It's even worse. The longer you stay in the water, the less you feel, because cold numbs. You have to feel afterwards, and not directly afterwards, but several hours, the whole day after your cold plunge. You have to feel if it was good for you, and what does it mean? Can you easily become warm again? It must be. And do you feel energized or not? So these are the main questions. And if you can't get warm very easily, then it is very simple. The cold was too much, or your warming up was not good enough. So this is again the logic of your body, and you have to listen to this. And this is so very logical that a lot of people are forgetting about it. And they're so stuck in their minds with the mindset and with the willing part. You have always to feel these tiny answers of your body afterwards.
Yeah, so it's try and error. You try, you sit there for 1 minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and then you will figure it out afterwards how it goes with you, and then you can adapt next time.
Yeah, definitely. And it is every time it's different. It depends on how you feel that day, how was your work, how is your private life. In Russia, there is so much experience and so much tradition with this cold. In Holland, there is very little experience, just the last 15 years since Wim Hof, the Iceman, is famous. You can say it's very popular in Holland, so it's very, very young. And if you look to the difference in how long they swim between Russia and Holland, it's very big difference. In Russia, they say in the sauna tradition, in the banya tradition, it's for not more than 30 seconds, they say. And all the ice swim clubs in Russia, the walrus clubs, they say not more than 1 minute. And if you look in Holland, then almost every winter swimmer is going for minutes. And sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes even it's 10 minutes challenge. It's crazy. It's crazy when you know this Russian knowledge about it. They will say it's crazy in Holland. So I think in Holland it's like a little bit of unknowledge or immaturity, like a teenager finding out his borders and pushing the limits. That's a little bit how it feels for me in Holland, because it's nothing to deal with health. It's everything to deal with ego, with ambition.
If you go so long and it's not good for you, for your health, then of course it will take you longer to warm up. But what other health issues or negative effects can we expect if you do it too often, too long?
If you do this for a one-time challenge and you're a very healthy person, it's not so big issue when you go too long. But the problem is that people are getting enthusiastic and they want to repeat this regularly. It's a daily life routine. And then it becomes very dangerous when you do this often, too much, too long. And what can happen? And first, it is also this body logic. You lose your vital core energy, your core heat. This is vital energy. And what can happen with your immune system? The immune system will get a kind of not a healthy trigger, but with long time cold exposure, it gets a shock. So the immune system is not working properly anymore. And then you can get inflammations, for example. You're a lot of people with the ears or the balance system, or the kidneys, the bladder. This is in the first place the inflammation, but it can be even more worse, like the lungs. And if you are exaggerating a lot of times, then maybe it can even more worse, like the heart. The heart is also a muscle. Yeah, if hypothermia is getting a lifestyle, then you can expect problems, definitely.
In Switzerland, I went into the Rhine and then I went home and went under the cold shower. I thought, okay, that is all feasible, but I stayed the whole day cold. So that was definitely a little bit too much for my body. And then I learned, okay, this is not the right thing to do, because it's not only about training, just overcome and with your mindset, but it's really learning.
Yeah, and interesting is that our body needs a short cold trigger, but not a cold shock. So that's a very big difference. When there is a cold trigger, even for a few seconds, it's already working. And then the core stays warm. The shorter you go into the cold, the better starting up your internal heat. So that's very interesting. So I can advise this for every cold training person to try for a few seconds in ice water. And what you feel afterwards is very impressive.
Yeah, that's totally clear. So for my syndrome of Renault, this cold trigger could maybe be something which could be good for me.
The syndrome of Renault in your hands and your feet.
In my hands, yeah, in my feet, yes.
Yeah, that is about the blood vessels and the capillaries. They're not working proper in your hands. And it's very simple answer for this, to avoid problems. First of all, you have to do a very good warming up with clapping your hands. If your hands are very warm, when you go into the water at first, and second, you go for short in the water, then you definitely don't have problems with syndrome of Renault. Even better, you train the capillaries becoming more healthy. So it's all about the dose. Yeah. So too much, you get problems. And in the right dose, it will be curing. Only, I have to make one
disclaimer
point that there is a secondary type of Renault, and then it's already damaged. The capillaries are already damaged, and you can't heal this anymore.
In my case, that is not the situation. So I will start to try it out this way then, to see if that really is improved. So thank you for that advice already. I don't hear nothing about the place for breathing in the cold? In the cold, probably yes, or after the cold, before the cold. Is there a place for breathing?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Without breathing, we cannot
yeah,
live.
yeah. That's
Yes, yes, of course. And I am educated with years of yoga practice, and of course, we did pranayama techniques.
uh-huh.
And it's important to start cold training without tension in your body. Before the cold training, it helps a lot to do breathing techniques to become like quiet in your system, in your mind. And that's opening up also the vessels in your body. After calming down the body with breathing techniques like maybe Nadi Sadhana or something, then
That's with
you
the
can use Nadi Sadhana, yeah, is the alternate breathing techniques. Then you can use the techniques for heating up the body, for the inner fire, like Kapalabhati, for example. But just before going into the cold, you have to calm down again the body. And then you can use just nose breathing and focusing on breathing out. So a long, quiet breathing out. Yes. And also when you go into the water, you focus on breathing out. So then you are not hyperventilating. But into the water, also, I advise everybody after the first stress moment,
uh-huh.
you start breathing as much as possible through the nose. And that's already also calming down the body. And in the water, it's quite simple what you focus on. Just breathing on, mainly focus on breathing out, and immediately when it's possible, breathing through the nose. So close the mouth.
And what
And
is
when you go outside the water, then you can use all kind of techniques about firing up the body to get warm again. Yes, but it's not such a big point as in the inner fire method of Wim Hof. Then it's mainly about the breathing. And in this tradition, it's mainly about the warming up.
why it's so important to focus on the nose breathing once you find your calm?
When you use nose breathing, it's first of all affect the heating up the body, and it calms down your body. So if you breathe through your mouth, then your emotions are getting bigger. So you want to stay calm in all ways.
So that's valid for any kind of stress situation.
Yes, yes, yeah.
And how long does it all take from start to finish? If you do it properly, in a good way, how you do it. The ice is very short, the warming up and the after. So how long are you busy?
It depends very much on what method you used. In the Russian tradition, there are 5 hardcore methods. They call it hardcore. It's the air douche, so staying outside or running outside with naked body or only with swim clothes. Second, it's the aplivanie, that's the ice bucket porridge. Third, it's akunanie in Russian, that is jumping for 3 times in the water. And it's a very old tradition in Russia. And then you have the banya with an ice bath. And the 5th method is, they call it to walrus, winter swimming in Russian. So it depends very on much how long it takes. It's what you are doing. If I do the ice bucket in the morning, it's directly when I came out of the bed. With the warmth in my body from my bed, from the night, I go immediately outside. So it's 1 minute. It's ready.
The resistance against
I
it
do
is big.
also afterwards. Yeah, and I do breathing techniques afterwards. So maybe it's like 10 minutes then.
Okay.
But if I go hardcore wind swimming or ice swimming, even more in Russia, then yeah, I would like to go for half an hour for running and go for ice swim for 1 minute and then outside again some yoga techniques. So that it's 1 hour.
And
it depends on the method.
And the swimming is then only also still 1 minute, also short.
I did say that till 1 minute it's for your health, and more than 1 minute it's more for ego. Yes, that's an average rule in Russia with all ice swim clubs. It's no longer than 1 minute. And of course, there are Russians swimming longer than 1 minute, but that's the rule for most of the people there.
Yeah, that's what you describe. Going back to the warmth you describe, it's not only about the cold and the conditioning of the cold, but it's also about the two cultures, the Russian and the Ukrainian, which is very much connected with everything you write. So you have probably also seen in the Dutch documentary Koude Koppen, Cold Faces, where they go winter
Yes.
swimming and everybody claimed all kind of healing, but they stayed there in the water quite long. That's then a different purpose, I assume.
think it's symbolic for first of all the enthusiasm in Holland. It's very nice that there is a lot of people enthusiastic about cold training, but it's also symbolic for the stage in Holland that it's just for 15 years old and that we are like a teenager, so we don't know so much like as in Russia. We make mistakes and we are pushing the limits without knowing it. So most of the people in this documentary, I'm for sure that it's too much for them, for their health. So I can advise to be more careful. And what I missed in this documentary is the disclaimer. There was absolutely no disclaimer. And there must always be a disclaimer with cold water training. Always.
Yeah.
So what is the right dose and when it is a no-go? And that is, for example, for people who have problems with blood vessels, with problems with their heart, of course, but also with the kidneys and the bladder.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful. You have a big responsibility for yourself and the people who are with you with this kind of training, because it's not like a training of a boot camp, or it's not like running. This is a really very strong therapy, and it's going deep, deep inside your body. That means your immune system. And it triggers a lot of tiny points you don't feel directly. But in the end, if you do this regularly, then you can get in trouble when you are pushing the limits.
And what have you learned from the cold and doing this regularly? What is your biggest learning?
My biggest victory was that it cured me from a very confronting disease. 1 year after I returned from Siberia, I received a very confronting enemy in my body. It was a virus, herpes virus. When I knew it, it was confronting, of course, but I also thought, now I'm a very healthy person, so I'm not so afraid of it. I was wrong. I was very wrong, because the next 7 years I had, without a break, this virus was always present in my body, and it was attacking me, my immune system. I lost my energy, my vitality. I lost my sexuality, what was very confronting for me as a young man. So I was very eager to find a solution, and I was also very determined not to go for regular medicines. I want to find the solution in the like Chinese medicines and so on. I started a long way looking, where's the solution, and finally it was the ice water. Unbelievable, for just a tiny minute for free, because I did very expensive therapies, 200 300 euros each one, and then you go for free swimming in the river, and it cures you. It's mind-blowing. So that was my personal victory. And what I learned in Russia, it's what I already point out, is that the difference with Holland, so swimming short and taking care of your individual body type and so on. So it's all about the health, and it's not about the ego. That's the most important thing. Yeah, it's funny that you expect in Russia, you expect it's so very hard and you must go for it. And these all these challenges we have in Holland, you expect maybe in Russia, but it's not true. They are very, very mild, how do you say, calm with it. There is a lot of wisdom with it. It's very nice. Yeah.
That's exactly what you feel when you read the book, the warmth. I get back to that word because I've been in Russia, but not so much as you. Then if you compare that, and then the cold fits very nicely with the image you have of Russia and Russian people. But then you describe the other side and how they delicately deal with the and seeing it like triggering the body to keep the fire burning and to eventually lead to healing. And that is different than an approach of mindset and overcoming your fear. It's for how can you also read your body in a different way. After how many months, weeks, or days were you then cured from your virus? How long did that take you?
This curing, it was unbelievable. It takes just from day one, I started winter swimming. All my symptoms disappeared like snow in the sun. And this is like maybe a miracle, but I thought it over. It was not that miracle because I was already for all the years I was ill, these 7 years, I was a fanatic with a healthy lifestyle, with doing yoga, eating the right stuff, have enough sleep, and so on. So I was ready to cure after the 7 years healthy lifestyle. So the ice water was like the last blow of the virus, the finally cut of the virus. I think in this way it happens. But it's also funny to realize that all these cold showers I took my whole life,
I was
it
just
was
thinking
not
about it.
enough to kill the virus. So I needed this healing ice water. About what the Russians say, it's holy water. They say in Russian, ledenaya voda, это святая вода, this holy water. And because it is a healing power, and this is icy water is so strong power that we in the West we underestimate this power, and we think sometimes we can fight with its power and swim for a long time. And of course, Wim Hof, he can do unbelievable things, but for I think the majority of the people, this is absolutely very dangerous and we underestimate it. So the power of ice water is very, very strong.
I was thinking, yeah, but you had always cold showers in your childhood, so you should have been prepared for that already. But it's the difference between a cold shower of 12, 14 degrees and really the icy water, which makes the difference.
Yeah, that's completely right. All these cold showers my whole life, it was not strong enough to give the final blow to my virus. This ice cold water, the icy water of the river, the IJssel near my house, and it was in winter, it was really freezing cold. And this was really the medicine for me. There's a difference between cold water and ice water. They say in Russia it's holy water. Ice water is holy water. There was another legendary Soviet doctor, a heart surgeon, Nikolai Amosov. He invented in the Russian-speaking medicine world, and he invented the functionale reserveorganisme. This is the reserve of our body, the vital reserve. He said when there is sufficient amount of vital reserves, your ability to cure yourself is working good. When there is not enough reserve, you don't have this ability. He said the training will be healthy when you are building up these reserves, these vital reserves. So this is very important to understand in Holland, especially for all people everywhere. The people are pushing the limits. What do you think will happen with their reserves?
Shrinking.
They drain. They lose the reserves. They drain it. And when you realize this, that these vital reserves, your energy, vital energy of your body, This is the healing ability of your body. You have to build it up by using the cold training. That means that you don't push the limits, but always stays in the green zone and not in the red light zone.
When people hear about cold, many people, they shy away from it. In Holland, it's quite known. I live in Spain. People really think it's too much. How do you overcome that hurdle to show them that it has these benefits, which you just mentioned?
Yeah, then to take them first for a sauna or a very good physical training, that they become so very hot that they need the cold to fresh up.
To fresh up.
And yeah, I can advise to read my book, of course. Then they are motivated.
That's for sure. No, yeah, that's for sure. I think your book is very inspiring and gives another perspective on cold conditioning, the healing powers of the cold. Absolutely. At least that's what inspired me to read it. And I learned so much about it. And also, I'm very pleased to have you here and to talk about it, because there is so much to learn from your knowledge, and from also the knowledge from the other cultures, evidently. So yes, thank you anyhow for that very much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and spreading the news outside.
Holland, outside Holland, yes. Are you gonna publish your book also in English? I think there's a lot of interest for it, also outside of Holland.
It's a big wish. I will want to. I'm looking for an editor now, so I hope I will find in a nearby future an editor. Yes. So if somebody is interested, please send a message to me or to you.
Yeah, it's so valuable to read and to get all the flavor, to try, to get triggered by the cold. Yeah, this is one another thing, that people sometimes get triggered by the cold while they are stressed or burn out, and then they come to me because they are interested and it could maybe be something for them as well. And I always advise against it, because when you're already are stressed, when you already completely are not the resources you just described, no vital energy, you're already drained, then adding on cold, that is not going to help you.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. When you're burn out, it's absolutely a no-go, contraindication for the cold. So people first have to gather this vital reserves, which is announced by Nikolai Mosov. This is very important because the kidneys are under stress with a burnout.
How do you say vital reserves in Russian? Was there also such a beautiful word for it?
Reserve. Dat is eigenlijk gewoon the same as English.
Yeah.
It's not that exotic word like winter swimming, morzevanie, and like ice bucket, aplivanie, and like jumping into the water, akunanie. These are very beautiful words. This is one last thing. How do you call the cold training in Russian? It's zakalivinye. And this is a very essential symbolic word. This means hardening of body, mind, and steel. So I thought by myself, steel? Why steel? But it's coming from how the smith, how they make steel with fire and then tempering the steel. And if you do this in the right way, then the steel is not only hard, but also flexible. But when you are exaggerating, then the steel is too hard and is going to break. And this is so very symbolic, because when there's too much cold on our body, then we are breaking. So we must do the dose like this, that we are hardening, but also getting flexible, both sides.
And how much is there the mental strengthening? Is that then is there also a place for that?
Yes, of course. It is always, the mind is in the body. So you train always both sides. sides. You need discipline to do a cold training. So you train your willpower, you train your mind. Of course, you're getting more healthy, more balanced if you do it in the proper way.
And do you feel then also at times resistance to go in the cold, or for you it's easy?
Of course, when I'm a bit tired or when I had not enough time for a good warming up, then I feel the cold is heavy for me. Yeah, of course. There was a moment I remember when I was in Russia with the group, a group of Dutch people, and I was the organizer, I was the interpreter,
Yeah.
and we did joint competition, ice swimming 25 meters. So I was very busy with all the stuff and all the people showing where to go and so on. And then, of course, I had also to go for this 25 meters. There was 2 minutes for me for warming up, and I did some quick push-ups and so on. But I felt very cold. So that was a really stress moment. Yeah.
What can somebody do tomorrow, listening to this, after reading your book in English? What can somebody do tomorrow to get started? To test the waters?
Yeah, when somebody started and it's not used to cold training, I advise to start with the gentle methods. And what does that mean? It's like wearing less clothes, lowering the thermostat, the temperature in your house, taking a cold shower. That's also a mild, gentle method in comparing with ice water.
Yes.
So if you adapted these gentle methods, then you are ready for the more hardcore style, like the bucket. With ice water, you can put in the evening a bucket of water outside, and in the winter it will be for free ice water in the next morning. And of course, winter swimming and so on. But you always have to respect the principle of graduality, постепенность in Russian, not jumping into water, but giving your body a few seconds or maybe a minute time to get from outside cold. The skin has to be cold, not the core. That's the right position to start with cold training.
How many ice buckets do I need? I've never done ice buckets. It requires also some mental resistance, I think, to really you just throw them over you, like you have them and over your head, or how does that go?
First, you start with your belly and then your chest and then your head.
So
and
three
if
buckets.
I do mostly just one.
Oh, okay.
But if you use two, you have two hands. So two is practical. The second one, you can do chest, head. But if it is really ice water, you do immediately your head, then you can get a brain freeze because it's heavy, only your head. So start with the belly, then the chest, then your head, the last piece of water.
And do you need to do your head? Some people don't like it, I know.
Yes, and why? Because we all have too hot heads. Because we are working with our heads, with the mind, with the eyes, with the computer. It's like a computer. It's getting hot and warm here. We have to cool down it. Yes, it's very important to cool down the head.
Okay. I didn't think of it.
It's very refreshing. I can recommend it to everyone.
I think I don't have any further questions, Ewout.
Yeah, very good.
I really enjoy our conversation. We had a little bit of hurdles, but we managed very well because we know how to overcome hurdles and stressors. Thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge and enthusiasm, not only about the cold, but also about the Russian and the Ukrainian culture. And evidently, I hope that that there is soon enough for you, again, a possibility to go back. The first thing now is to see how you can also publish your book in English so that more people can really read it and start to experience themselves the healing benefits of the cold. Thank you very much for that.
Please, thank you also. And I hope very, very much that there will be coming peace in these beautiful countries, Ukraine and Russia.
Yes, I hope so too.